Hello, everybody, and welcome to our webinar today called Everything You Need to Know About Uncoupling Membranes. Any questions you have today, please submit them in the area there on your screen, and we can answer those questions for you as we go. My name is Scott. I'm from WarmlyYours, and I'm the Manager of Technical Support. So thank you for joining us today, and we're going to be talking about uncoupling membrane and how it works with floor heating. So the membrane acts as a support system when installing the tile floors on any type of subfloor. It allows you to protect your tile floor from cracks by uncoupling the tile from the subfloor itself. The great thing about this product, it also has vapor management properties and can act as a waterproof barrier. It adds very little height. It only adds about 5.5 millimeters, which is a little under 6 millimeters, which is a little bit under 1/4 of an inch. However, you have to remember this does not eliminate the need for movement joints, including the perimeter joints. So let's pair this with floor heating. That's why we're here. WarmlyYours offers Prodeso uncoupling membrane for our temp zone cable systems. And if you can see right here, I've got a sample of it right here. It's very lightweight, very thin, very blue, as you can tell. It's even more blue on this monitor. And in there, you can see our wire is embedded right into the gaps between the studs that we call them. So the grooves in the membrane allow for the electric floor heating cables to travel in and out. And they're also held in place with these studs. So it helps you lay them out and it keeps it down and keeps it in place while you're putting Thinset over the top. Now, what are the benefits of having this uncoupling membrane and the heated wire in that membrane? Well, it reduces the added floor height from traditional in-floor heating installations under tile. And Prodeso membrane protects the EFH cable, which stands for electric floor heating cable, from moisture-sensitive surfaces. It eliminates the need for self-leveling cement. That's another expense that you won't have with this particular product. It allows for quick installation when compared to the fixing strip method or most other methods. So if this is a job that you have to get done and you've got to get it done in one day, this will allow you to put the system down and actually get the tile on in one day. It adds very little height to the floor, so you don't have to worry about any massive transitions from one room to another. So let's talk about uncoupling. Uncoupling is when the flooring and the subfloor can move in isolation from each other. It results in fewer cracks and less breakage in your floor. Now, Prodeso compensates for this movement, allowing you to install over problematic subfloors. Now, movement in the subfloor is not transferred to the tile. So you could see this floor can shift side to side and the tile stays in place on the top. If you look at the back of the product, it's got a mesh, a non-woven mesh on the back, and that's for bonding to the Thinset. But also when there is some lateral uncoupling going on, this will give and it will allow the floor to move, but the tile to stay where it is, saving you from getting a bunch of cracks or broken grout lines in your system. It also can eliminate a second layer of plywood with the exception of natural stone installations. With those, you're going to need that second layer. But just think about what's lighter, this or a piece of plywood, and multiply that by 5 or 10 or 15, depending on how big your bathroom is. And that's a lot of plywood. And let's say that your bathroom's on the 3rd floor, you're carrying a lot of weight up and down the stairs compared to a couple rolls of this stuff. Now let's talk about crack isolation. Easy for me to say, right? Cracks in the subfloor can happen at any time as the building settles, especially in newer construction. Uncoupling membranes like Prodeso can prevent cracks in the subfloor from traveling up into the flooring. The Prodeso membrane isolates the tile floor, allowing it to float over the subfloor. So you can have a crack come up to this layer and stop, and it keeps the tiles in good position and in good condition. The one thing you have to worry about is a concrete slab that just doesn't move laterally, but it does one of these. There's no product on the market right now that will protect your tile floor from a shifting like the tectonic plates in the earth. If it shifts like this, you've got a problem and you will see some delamination there possibly. What it protects you from is the lateral motion of that crack. Let's talk about load distribution. If you look, that has a bunch of little cones inside of it. And what those do is those get surrounded by the Thinset when you put the Thinset over the top of the product. That creates a nice solid surface, so you don't have to worry about something coming down into the tile and pushing into the wire. It's going to hit the tile is going to push down on the Thinset, and it's going to get distributed by these little pieces here inside of the Prodeso. And you can see those blue little like upside down pyramids there. That's what's great about load distribution. It saves the wire, and it also spreads the impact out along the top of the tile, and it helps keeping your floor from cracking. Now let's talk about vapor management. Vapor management is really important when you're dealing with a brand new slab. The great thing about this product is it lets you put tile over a slab that's not cured yet. One of the few products out there that allows you to tile on a non-cured cement slab. So what this does is it lets the moisture come in through the back of this mesh, going up into the voids between the mesh and the top of the surface. Each one of these is like a little inverted cone. And that allows the moisture to gain there, and then it goes back down into the concrete to allow it to hydrate and make that concrete go together like it's supposed to. If you've ever seen any information or a presentation on how concrete works, it's got a bunch of tentacles that interlock, and that's just done through hydration. And that's what happens with this vapor management. It comes up, stays in there, and then goes back down into the slab, getting you a nice cured slab. Also, concrete slabs tend to shrink a little bit, and if you have a slab doing this, you want something over the top of it, so when it does this, the tile stays still. So that's what's great about this product with vapor management. Now, another benefit of this product is it's made of polypropylene, and that is naturally waterproof. So if you were to drop water on here, it's not going to migrate and go through to the underside. It's just going to stay on the top. The issue that you need to worry about is if you're going to make a waterproof room is when you put two of these sections together. The seam between them will need to be waterproofed, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. So anytime you have a seam, a corner, or a perimeter of the bathroom or the area you're doing, that area is going to have to be waterproofed using ProBand waterproofing products. Now let's take a look at the installation. And when you get a product like this from us, it'll come with an installation plan not only for the wire in the mat, but it'll also come with this installation on how to lay the Prodeso out onto the floor. So if you can see here, this particular job that we did, I actually installed this, is done with 2 rolls. And roll 1 is marked with a 1 in a circle on each one of those spots in the drawing. And what we did is we cut that Prodeso in the sizes specified, and we were able to fill most of the area with roll number 1, and then roll number 2 went into the shower. So what we do is we cut it, then we dry fit it to make sure that it fits the space. We also need to make sure that the studs of the Prodeso membrane align correctly. You don't want one stud here and the other one here, and then your cable can't go through. So you take a look at that drawing in the lower right-hand corner, and you see what we're talking about. You see how on the right side, the studs are not lined up. You're not going to get a cable to travel between those 2 sections. They have to be lined up as it shows above the check mark. Now, you also need to make sure that you use the correct adhesive, Thinset type, to put this product down on your subfloor. And your subfloor will tell you what kind of product you need. One thing you need to remember with this product is the minimum tile size is 2 inches by 2 inches. And that just has to do with the way the tile is laid on top of this product. If you have smaller sizes than 2 by 2, you're going to want to use a different system. Now, if we take a look at the drawing, we can see that there on each corner, there's a bold area there. It's either bold in red or bold in black. The black ones are in the center there. And if we take a look around the perimeter, those are representative of the outside corners for the black, and then the inside corners for the red. So if you take a look at the upper right-hand corner of this drawing, it says inside corner and points to that bold area there on the corner. That's telling you should use the ProBand inside corner in that spot. Now, if you have 2 corners with the ProBand corners installed, you also have to make the area between them waterproof, and you do that with ProBand tape. And we'll take a look at that stuff in just a second here. So here we can see pictures of the ProBand outside corner. It's already formed for you, so you don't have to sit there and try to make your own. It's much much faster to put these down than it is try to make your own corners. There on the right side, we can see the Pro Band inside corners. And then in the center is the Pro Band, which is put all the way around the perimeter of the room. Half of it down on the floor, half of it on the wall. So you've got a product that's going like this, and that's what's going to keep the water in the room and keep it from flowing out the edges and into the rooms below. Now, after you get the Prodeso installed in the floor, then you're going to lay the cables out. And we'll have an installation plan that shows you how to lay the cables out on the Prodeso itself. And you can see that the cables are laid out in this particular picture. If you notice, there is the Pro Band going in the same design that we showed you in the drawing before. See number one, number one, number one, number one. Those are the pieces that are all put together, and we can see here that that matches exactly. So what we did is we laid the cable down. We then put Thinset down over the seams and then pushed the tape down into the Thinset, and that's what makes each one of those seams waterproof now. If you take a look along the top of the picture, you can see the Pro Band is going around the perimeter of the room. You can't put this stuff down first and then put the cables over it. That won't work. So you have to put the cables down first and then the Pro Band materials over the top of them. So this is great for waterproof bathrooms, kitchens, mudrooms, that sort of stuff. It prevents water from flowing into spaces down below. It may eliminate the need for sloped flooring in the bathroom itself, especially if you have a curbed bathroom. You'll want to check and make sure that any installation complies with your local building codes. They may require a slope anyway, but at least you know now that the entire floor is waterproof. But the great thing with this is, in this particular job, we did a curbless shower. So we didn't have to worry about any water getting out along the edges of the wall or into the main part of the bathroom. Now, it's also, the main thing is, and I know somebody who had water from a shower go into their living room below through their water, through their light fixture. That's bad news. This is going to help eliminate that possibility. Now, let's talk about when you're going over cement. What do you have to think about when you're going over a cement subfloor? Well, you have to think about what kind of tile you're going to be installing. Is it going to be ceramic, marble, or granite? Because it's very important that ceramic, marble, and granite will both expand and contract differently than cement. The thermal expansion ratio of ceramic to cement is 6 times. Ceramic will expand and contract 6 times the thermal expansion of cement. Marble, 7 times the thermal expansion of cement. And granite, 9 times the thermal expansion of cement. So if you have something up here that wants to expand and contract all the time, and something down here that doesn't want to, eventually something's got to give. And that's what this layer is going to provide for you. So let's take a look at the cement-based subfloor. And we can see here that there's our cement slab. There's our latex modified Thinset. That's specifically the type that you need to use in this application. If you have any questions about what kind of mortar, what kind of Thinset goes between the Prodeso and the subfloor, just give us a call. We'll send you the installation manual. Each type of installation has got it listed at what type of Thinset needs to go where. So we've got the cement slab, we've got the latex modified Thinset, then we've got the Prodeso membrane, we've got the cables going back and forth in there. And then the great thing about this product is it's been tested to work with modified and unmodified Thinset mortar. There are specific companies out there that have tested their product, their modified product with this, and it works great. So depending on the size or type of the tile you have, you may want to go Thinset that's modified. You may want to go Thinset that's unmodified. That's going to be decided by the type of tile you put in. If you're putting in large format tiles, of course, you have to use the correct Thinset. You have to use the correct trowel to put that Thinset down because large format tiles are completely different animals than 12 by 12s. So that's the sort of thing that you want to keep an eye on. Let's talk about a wood subfloor. Now, the wood subfloor is what a lot of people start with. They're not as fortunate as this person here. It looks like they've got a butcher block floor, so they're pretty ritzy there. but let's just pretend this is a regular old plywood or OSB floor. And with that, we're going to use latex modified Thinset over the top of that. Then we're going to be using the Prodeso, the cable, then the modified or unmodified Thinset mortar, which is decided by the type of tile that you're going to be installing. Now let's talk about gypsum-based underlayment. Please follow the underlayment manufacturer's directions for proper preparation and primer application before installing Prodeso membrane to the underlayment. If you start with this underlayment, they may recommend a primer that goes over the underlayment before you put the unmodified Thinset mortar over the top. If that's the case, always follow the anhydrite underlayment manufacturer's recommendations. Once you get that covered with the primer if it's needed, then you're using unmodified Thinset mortar. Then you're using Prodeso, the cable, modified or unmodified Thinset, and then finally the type of tile on the top that you desire. Now let's talk about existing vinyl floors. You'd be surprised how many people want to tile over existing vinyl flooring, and it can be done, but there's a few caveats that you want to make sure that you follow. The vinyl needs to be secured and flat over the entire surface. It needs to be one single layer of vinyl, not multiple layers of vinyl. Padded vinyl is not compatible and will need to be actually removed. And if you have that stuff, that vinyl that comes on a great big roll, you put it down, you step on it, and you can feel it give because it's soft, that's going to have to come up. Because it's soft, it's going to give each time you step on it. That's not a good underlayment. One thing you need to make sure you also check for is that you don't have perimeter secured vinyl, because that's only attached to the perimeter of the floor. In the middle, you can actually lift it up and put it back down. That's not bonding to the floor either. So if you have the correct single layer of vinyl flooring that's bonded completely to the floor, you can use fast setting latex modified Thinset over the top of that and follow the latex modified Thinset manufacturer's recommendation on the best way to bond to that vinyl flooring. They'll tell you what to do. They'll tell you how to mix it, all of that sort of stuff. And then once you get the right type of Thinset, you mix it the way they tell you. And then you can put the Prodeso on top, the cable on top of that, the modified or unmodified Thinset mortar over that, and finally the tile. Now let's talk about installing the floor heating into the Prodeso. Here you can see the red lines that are spaced 3 studs apart. And in the middle there you see a little black wire. That little black wire is your sensor wire. So it's going there and it's put between 2 of the heating cables, and it doesn't even need to go in that far. You can go in about 6 studs or so, and that would be plenty. And also you can see, if you look really, really carefully, in the middle of that blue C interrupted by red lines, one of those red lines has a little white dot on it. That little white dot is not a mistake on the slide, like in the old days where you get a piece of hair over it or something like that. That's a white spot. It's marked on the cable. The cable is marked at the halfway point with a piece of white tape, so you know exactly where you are. And you can use that to follow along with your plan, because your plan will show you where the midpoint is of the wire. So you can go along and go, okay, well, my white piece of tape has shown up right where the midpoint is shown on my drawing. I know that I'm going right in the right direction. Now, if you come to the white little piece on your cable and you look on your plan and you were supposed to run into that 3 or 4 runs ago, you know that your spacing is off. It's not correct. You either got it too far away from the wall or it's spaced too far apart. That lets you get halfway and find out if you're doing it right or not, as opposed to getting all the way to the end and going, oops, I've got a bunch left over. This way you know halfway through if you're going right or not. So if we take a look at this, you can see over here that there is some cable inside here that's it just sticks right inside the grooves, and that's exactly what's going on in this picture. The great thing about this is it keeps the wire locked down into the, make sure you can see that, into the grooves, and there's the cable, and there's the Prodeso. Now, what's great about the membrane is it allows for consistent spacing of the electric floor heating cables. The main thing when you're installing this product is to make sure that you never ever cross Don't cross the streams, and don't also cross the heating cables, because the heating cables will overheat if they overlap each other. The Prodeso allows you to install the tile immediately after laying out your cables. So what you do is you put the Prodeso down, you run the cable back and forth, and now you can go ahead and start tiling. The one thing I do want to pass along to you, and we had somebody do this right at a long time ago when we first started selling this product, is they came in and they put the whole system down, then they covered the whole thing with Thinset, and then came back the next day. You don't want to do that. You want to come in, you want to get the cables put in, and then you want to put just enough Thinset down over the Prodeso to do one tile or two. Back butter the tile, you push the tile down, put your spacers in, put some more Thinset down on the Prodeso, back butter the tile, lay the tile. You're doing it like that. You're not covering everything. You're doing one tile or two tiles at a time. That way, if you get to the end of the day and you're halfway done, you don't have to worry about Thinset drying on the other half. That other half is still uncovered. You're going to come back with a new set of Thinset. You're going to start buttering, putting the tile down as you go, and putting the tile over fresh Thinset that you're putting down over the Prodeso that day. So those are just a couple little hints that you want to also keep in mind. Now, when should you not use Prodeso? We'd love to sell everybody everything, but sometimes you don't need to buy more than you really need. And that's what we're good here at WarmlyYours about. We're never here to sell you something you don't need. If you have a well-supported floor, if you've got really good spacing supports underneath the floor, it has no deflection or very little deflection, there's no need for an anti-fracture membrane or uncoupling membrane because the floor is nice and solid. So instead of spending the extra amount on this, you can just go ahead and buy the cable with the fixing strips and save yourself a lot of money. Smaller rooms or rooms would be better suited for using fixing strips, and the cable is going to save you money on your budget. You can't use this product if you're using tile under 2 inches. What you would do is you would use our temp zone system, either cable or mats, cover it with self-leveling, and then you have a nice flat surface to lay down the small tiles on. If you do want to maybe change your mind, maybe say, I want to change this to laminate or I want to go to LVT, the good thing about temp zone covered with self-leveling is it gives you a nice flat floor, and then you can take off something and you can put something different down on it. You're actually attaching tile to this, so that won't allow you to do that if you want to change your mind. So those are just a few cases where you may not want to use the Prodeso. We've got products that you can use for these, but it may not require the extra expense of the Prodeso. Now, I'm going to give you a few seconds to think of some questions if you have any questions. And what I want to do is I want to go through a couple of questions that were submitted during the registration process. And one of the questions was, what is the thickness of the material? And the thickness of the material, we did mention it, but it's always good to remind, is 5.5 millimeters thick. That's a little bit less than 1/4 inch thick. Now, another question we got is how much heat loss when going over a slab on grade, a basement slab? What types of insulation products help when installing over a slab? Well, this has no R value. This is not going to keep the heat from going down into a slab if you're going over a concrete slab. So what you want to do is the manufacturers of this told us that you can install our Cerazorb product, which is a synthetic cork. You can install that onto this slab, and then using latex modified Thinset, attach this to the Cerazorb. That's going to keep the heat going up. Now, the thing with the Cerazorb insulation is it's going to make your floor warmer, anywhere from 4 to 8 degrees, depending on the atmospheric conditions that day. It's also going to make it heat up a lot faster. But think about taking this wire, because in essence, this is what you're doing, and putting this right on top of the concrete. That concrete is going to suck the heat down into the concrete before it releases it to the floor. So that's why we always suggest, if you're going over a concrete slab, is to make sure that you isolate the cable from the slab itself. Now, Larry had a great question, and Larry asks, would this product also lend itself to be used with a self-leveling product? Well, that's a great question, Larry. The answer is yes and no. Okay, no, really. Getting back to your response, yes, it does eliminate the need for self-leveling on top of the product, but it does not eliminate the need for self-leveling under the product. Because if you have a 150-year-old home and your floors in the bathroom are shaped like a cup, you need to get that surface flattened first, and then you put the heating system on top. Because if you imagine you have a great big floor like this and it sags in the middle, the floor, if you put floor heating cables down here at the bottom, those floor heating cables have a lot more distance between them and the top of the tile than the cables over here do. So you have a bowl shape. The parts here are going to be cold, and the edges of the floor are going to be really warm. So that's why we always say self-leveling first to get the floor nice and flat, and then you can put the Prodeso on top of that. But you are not to put self-leveling over the top, because this eliminates the need for self-leveling over the top, because you are going to put Thinset down inside these grooves, you're going to back butter the tile, and you're going to set the tile right on top of there, eliminating the need for that self-leveling. So that was a great question, Larry. I hope I didn't mess anybody's mind up with that, but you always want to make sure your floor is flat first and then apply heating. So it doesn't look like we have any questions, so I must have been giving some good information here. I don't know, but I hope that's the case. So let's go ahead and talk about what the cost of the room is that we just showed in this webinar. We had 2 rolls of cable, we had 2 rolls of Prodeso membrane, and then we had all the inside and outside corners and the ProBand roll to go around the perimeter and to go over all the seams. There were 4 rolls of that. There were 6 inside corners and 2 outside corners for a grand total of $906. And that is a bathroom without a curb and a waterproof installation. So hopefully that kind of gives you an idea that this product really isn't that expensive when it comes to heating it and making it waterproof, keeping the water from, we had a gal here that works at WarmlyYours, and her daughter left the sink on in the bathroom upstairs, and they had a lot of problems with the water coming down through the ceiling. So this does buy you some time to go, we've got some water flowing, we can go up there and turn it off before it just drains down into the rest of the house. So make sure that you join us for our next webinar, and that's going to be next month, and it's going to be entitled How to Add Floor Heating to New Wood Floors. That's going to be taking place on Thursday, January 11th. That's, I hate to say it, 2018, and that's going to be at 1 p.m. That's Central Standard Time. Hey, we have a monthly promotion, and for this month, we have 25% off of all towel warmers. So make sure you visit WarmlyYours.com to learn more and check out our towel warmers, get that 25% off, and give the gift of warm towels to, if you can't find anybody to give them to, give it to yourself. And we value your feedback on these webinars. We want to know if we're telling you or informing you on stuff that you want to learn about or not. So you'll be receiving an email shortly asking about how your experience was today. And we appreciate every one of your comments and every one of your suggestions. If there's something you want to see us cover, we'll be glad to. Just give us a hint as to what you need more information about, and we will be glad to give it to you. You can always contact us too. We're here if you have any questions about thinking about what am I going to do here? This is the type of floor I want. What should I do? We would be glad to consult with you. We'll also be glad to give you free installation plans so you can kind of get an idea what your cost would be before you commit to anything. All of our advice, drawings, that sort of stuff are free of charge. Many people are surprised when we tell them, hey, let us get you a drawing for you. We'll have it for you tomorrow. They ask how much that is, and it's no charge. It's free. So you can get an idea of exactly how the product is going to be going in, how many watts and amps it takes, what type of stuff you need to give your electrician, and you get that all before you buy. So it gives you an idea to get prepared. And you can get a hold of us at 800-875-5285. And you can email our owner, Julia Billen, at jbillen@warmlyyours.com, or you can also email us at info@warmlyyours.com. We are on the internet, believe it or not. The internet address is www.warmlyyours.com, and you can also check us out on facebook.com/warmlyyours. So thank you so much for joining me today. Hopefully we gave you some decent information. If you want any more information, please let us know. We're here to answer any questions you have. And until next time, stay warm. And, oh, we have a question. Oh, okay. Well, I didn't clean my glasses here, Andy. So let me get a little bit closer to the screen here. Do the wires have sensors? That is a fantastic question, Andy. A lot of people mistake the little black cap at the end of the wire as a sensor. It's not. It's a splice that allows it to make a complete circuit. So the sensor comes in the thermostat box. It needs to be put in separately, and that's what that little black wire was on that picture we had in the bathroom in front of the bathtub. There was that black wire that ran into the middle of the picture. And that is the sensor wire. So it is separate. It's in the thermostat box. So please make sure that you get that sensor out and you put it in before the guy comes to put the tile over the top in the Thinset. So thank you, Andy. We appreciate that question. It was a fantastic question. And it looks like that is it for questions. So until we see you next, is your flooring rated to be used as a single heat source? That depends on your insulation values in your house, Haley. So the perfect answer would be it might. And the way for you to know is to go to our heat loss calculator, which is on our website. You can just go, there's a little search bar at the top, and you click on that and you write heat loss, and it'll take you right to our heat loss calculator. The heat loss calculator, you put in what type of room you have, how many exterior windows, how many fireplaces, how many doorways, what your insulation is above and below the floor, in your walls. Are they external walls? Are they internal walls? All that makes a big difference. So you put all that information in, and then the heat loss calculator will tell you how many BTUs you need to heat that space. Then it will say, here's the size of the product that gets installed in your room, and it will tell you if the BTUs in that product are enough to heat your room. It may say, hey, on 99% of the days it will. There might be one day in the wintertime where you might need 500 more BTUs to make it comfortable there when it's 20 below zero. So that's a great question, and the way to find that out is to go onto our heat loss calculator, and that's on our webpage. Go to the search button, click on it, and put heat loss, and it'll take you right to the heat loss calculator page. And that way you'll know if it will work as a sole source of heat in your bathroom. So thank you so much, Haley. That was another great question. I'm glad you guys snuck those in before the end because I'm on my last slide. So if I don't get another one sneaking in here, I'm just going to say thank you for watching. We appreciate you coming. Thank you for the great questions. And until next time, stay warm and be radiant.